Osiris.
This podcast is in the Loop, the Legion of Osiris podcasts. Osiris is creating a community that connects people like you with live experiences and podcasts about artists and topics you love. Get in the loop at osirispod.com.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to GuitarCast. This is your host, Andy Keithley. This episode features Pat Campolattano. Pat designs and builds guitars and basses and amps and effects pedals for YAMAHA and for the YAMAHA artist roster. So he's built guitars for Billy Corgan and built basses for John Patitucci, Billy Sheehan, Nathan East, as well as a gold guitar for Shakira. Don't forget to follow GuitarCast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at GuitarCastPod, and email me at guitarcastpod@gmail.com. Here comes GuitarCast episode 33 with Pat Campolattano. Here we are, GuitarCast, another field trip.
Yeah.
We're in this beautiful room with about 100 guitars on the walls. Tell us where we are and who you are.
Yeah, you're at YAMAHA Artist Services in Los Angeles. My name is Pat Campolattano, and I'm senior designer luthier for YAMAHA Guitar Group.
Cool. And we just kind of walked through the shop areas downstairs. Can you recap like what's all down in the shops?
Yeah, so downstairs is our workshop, our what we call the clean room, which is our like assembly area, where we also have wood storage, painting, buffing, and we have a little design office down there, as well as a big kind of live room, which we call the drum showroom. Mm-hmm. And then up here, we are sitting in our guitar showroom. Next to us, we have a little studio, and nice place for folks to hang out. It's for when artists come or we need to do some sort of filming or something like that. This is kind of the place we wanted to feel like home. So when people came to hang out, it wasn't like a big kind of corporate
industrial
monolith. Yeah,
totally. So how is Line 6 involved?
So a few years back, Yamaha purchased Line 6. So
Okay.
We are all one company now. Line 6 is a brand in the Yamaha Guitar Group, as is Ampeg. So that was a recent acquisition for the company. We have been collaborating a lot for the past few years. So one of the products that I designed was the Shuriken guitar for Stevig McKay, which is this black guitar right behind me, kind of like baritone scale length, 6-string Variax guitar. And so we work kind of hand in hand, developing new products. We use the Helix for all sorts of testing and all the Line 6 great amps, but Yamaha makes the THR amp, and Line 6 makes Helix and Spider and the GT series and everything. So we kind of have guys that go back and forth. They assist with the Line 6 project, and some Line 6 guys assist with the Yamaha project, and yeah, it's just one big happy family now.
Cool. And you went to Berkeley, right?
Yep.
Okay, so did I. And that's how we met.
Yeah.
I don't think we met in school though. So when were you there?
I think we did.
Did we?
I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you with 100% certainty, but yeah, I was there from 2006 to 2010.
Okay.
And I worked at the Guitar Center while I was there, and yeah, I remember hearing about the Get Down Boys, I think back then, but
that would have been. I was in a similar band called Southbound Underground back then.
Okay.
With Ben Jared, Ben.
Yeah.
And Ty Hughes. I don't know if you remember Ty.
No.
So I was there 2005 to 2008. So we would have had 2
a little
years
overlap. Yeah.
But how did you, between then and now, what was your journey in LA?
Yeah.
And, surrounded by guitars, how did you wind up here?
Well, when I was young, I started playing and around 12. But that whole time I had been growing up in my grandfather's workshop. He's a gunsmith, and I learned how to do woodworking and metalwork and everything from him. And then I got a guitar, and I told my folks, I was like, man, I want to go to Berkeley. That's what I want. And, my folks are like, yeah, you keep studying, bud. We'll see. I was still, young kid, freshman in high school. But immediately I would, take the guitar apart and put it back together, solder like crazy, destroyed a few instruments, just futzing with them. And then I started, making some of my own stuff, amp cabs, made some guitar parts, stuff like that with my grandpa. And then I did end up going to Berkeley. And then when I graduated, I moved out here right afterwards. And I went to Musicians Institute and did the Guitar Craft Academy. It's like a little 6-month program. But when I finished Berkeley, I knew I wanted to do that. One of my buddies, Ernesto, he was the tech at the Guitar Center that I worked at in Boston. He went to the school, and he was saying it was great, and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds really cool. I knew I wanted to make guitars, do stuff with guitar, and I went to the school kind of to prove to myself that I knew what I was talking about a little bit, or see if I really wanted to do it. And I had fun. All my friends from Berkeley moved out here, so 2 weeks later I got a gig working for James Tyler Guitars in Van Nuys at the time. And it's been a whirlwind since. But I worked for Jim for a few months, and then I ended up working for Eastman.
I remember you working for Eastman.
Yeah. So I was like a project manager there, did some design for them, traveled to China a few times, doing similar kind of thing that I do here. Not as much building over there as design, and doing some education for factory workers, talking about process, showing how to do certain techniques, working with tooling, engineering. And then about 5.5 years ago, I started working here at YAMAHA, and then I finally was able to do all the things that I wanted to do. I could tick off all the boxes. So it's been great. So here, mostly what I do is I make all the artist custom instruments, along with a new guy that's in the shop, Andrew Enns, who's our acoustic guitar builder. So for the last 5 years, it was only me in the shop. And this year, we hired Andrew and another painter, Rafael Barras, who worked together with me at Tyler. And I just knew he was incredible. So we've been friends ever since. And I'm really glad he just signed on recently. And so we do all the research development for new products here. We do design and engineering, and then we travel internationally to our factories, go to Japan or to Indonesia, China, to see, how the operation is going. If we develop a new product or a process here, we want to make sure we can do it in the factory. So it's kind of a soup to nuts operation.
Support for this podcast comes from Zuri Food, all natural, all human grade dog food, offering 4 different diets to optimize nutrition for your pup, and now 2 different kinds of dog treats as well. Visit www.zurifood.com today to order yours, because pups are people too.
Yeah, and guitars, acoustic, electric, bass, amps too, right?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Wireless.
Really? Yeah.
Oh yeah, Line 6 wireless is incredible, and the new stuff they're working on it's gonna be game
Seems like
changer.
that's the way
insane.
it's going. Everything on stage be wireless.
Yeah, and we have some new products that have it embedded, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Works really in synchronicity with the G10 little wireless bug, which is great.
So, is with wireless, is that like a actual transmitter? Is it Bluetooth or is it?
Oh, it's a transmit. It's our own like proprietary wireless thing, and it's crazy. Actually, one day they took like all these signal jammers. They got like a dozen of them, and they put the transmitter in the center, and it like wiped out like all the wireless connection for the whole building. But the wireless unit worked with 100% like precision, which was crazy. So I was like, oh man, this is cool. Yeah, and the fidelity is great.
Yeah. And you mentioned the artists. So is there like a roster of Yamaha artists?
Yeah.
It's probably pretty impressive, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, I mean, for drums, guitar, bass, everything, we've been working really closely this last year or so with the guys at Smashing Pumpkins. So Jeff Schroeder, who is the sideman to Billy Corgan. We've been working with Billy. We released a signature acoustic for Billy, which was really great. John Patitucci, Nathan East, Billy Sheehan, for the bass world. It's been really fun. Dave Kuning from the Killers did some guitars for him. But over the years, I've done a lot of stuff. Phil X, who was playing with Bon Jovi, did a lot of guitars for him.
Half those guys probably live out in this neighborhood, right?
A bunch of them do, yeah. Billy actually recently moved to Nashville, which was,
really?
that was cool. And Phil, yeah, he moved to Vegas. It's a different world these days. Music is everywhere.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, New York, Nashville, LA. There's a lot in like Seattle, Portland area, Chicago. It's Austin, of course. It's cool. It's cool to see,
And where did you grow up before Boston?
I grew up on the East Coast in Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah. Connecticut's not my favorite place in the world. When I was 18, I was just like, oh man, I'm getting out of here. So I was so excited to go to Boston, and oh man, it's just the best town. I love Boston too. So
have you been back anytime recently?
Yeah, I've been back once or twice. I go home, visit my family, and then it's like a 2-hour drive. Mm-hmm. So I'll go take a trip, go get a lobster tail at Modern Pastry or something like that. Love it.
I haven't been back in a long time, like probably since like 12 or 13. But from what I can tell, it's changed a lot since we've been there for school. Like Berkeley has put up like a skyscraper and completely changed around the whole.
They bought like
scenario.
That whole Back Bay area pretty much, and developed it. It's wild. And then they got that place in Valencia, Spain, right?
Yeah, that's right. Another school.
Yeah. It would be cool. I always think about sometimes like it would be fun to go teach a course or something over there.
Well, Are you involved with Berkeley alumni or anything? Like?
I know Justine Termino,
sure,
right? And she's a super cool girl, but really haven't done much with the school. Although I always thought about going back because John Patitucci teaches at Berkeley now.
Really?
Like he'll do like a course. He'll fly in a little bit. Cool. I think he does some private lessons and teaches some other courses. But I always thought it would be fun for he and I to go back there together or something.
Yeah.
Talk about his bass or, I always thought it would be fun to teach a course there about, construction or the history of the instrument. That's something that.
Well, I think that would be really useful for guitar players because if a lot of players out there are like me who learned the instrument, played guitar nonstop since teenage years or earlier, with all those years of playing, don't know much about how the guitar is built. I don't know what a lot of this stuff is called, or just the basic way that a guitar is put together. I've never taken one apart. I don't have a shop. That part of the instrument is completely foreign to me, but a lot of that would be really helpful to know, just not only for practical reasons like repairs and setups, but for the tone of the instrument. To really get the best tone out of it, you should understand how the tone's being made, and what makes the neck play the way it does, or what makes the tension of the strings the way it is. Or
getting to know how something ticks really gives you a different kind of insight. There's a lot of common misconceptions out there about the way instruments are made or what's important. It's always interesting. You go on, you read on a forum or something, a lot of
armchair experts.
But it's all fun. It's all good. It's all we're all here to make music, right? It's supposed to be something that's fun.
Do you find that working so much hands-on with guitars over the years has affected your personal playing time, or your
Oh yeah, for sure. I used to play like hours and hours and hours a day at Berkeley, and now I play at work when I'm like setting up an instrument. I'll play it for a little while. Like, it's always fun when finally something comes to life.
Sure.
And you get to get that first crack at it. And so we'll come in here, we'll crank up an amp, or go in that big showroom downstairs and just let it rip with a crazy loud amp or something. But my playing has definitely tapered off, put it that way.
Yeah, and it's just because I can say the same thing. Just after being out in LA for 10 years, working, gigging, music-related jobs, teaching, everything, I go through phases where I really don't pick up a guitar for like months. For fun, what I mean?
Yeah.
But then it swings back the other way, and then I will go through a few weeks or months where I'm actually sitting down playing a lot more, practicing, like having practice material specifically that I'm working through,
like a regimented
which I took years off from doing after school.
I miss it sometimes. I think teaching is actually really great, because when you're teaching, like you're teaching a student, but you're also learning yourself, like how to best explain something.
Yeah.
And in that process, it kind of clicks a little more in your head every time you explain it, right?
Yeah.
And you just become like more intimately familiar with whatever it is, scales, modes, harmony, just getting it all to sync up in your brain in a certain way. Like I've read so many books about, all right, here's your 3-note per string scales and stuff like that. But when you're teaching it, it just kind of, I think it's also educational for the person who's teaching.
You have to explain it in a way that makes sense, and that is easier said than done for a lot of things,
Yeah.
I have trouble teaching. I have in the past where something that makes so much sense to me, I can't say it. I can't come up with the words to actually describe something, or I say too much and overcomplicate a really simple thing, and my student is like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, I could definitely go into the weeds and get too complicated on certain stuff, but as far as playing goes, I haven't really sought it out as much as I probably should have, but I do love playing still. I have a guitar that I made for my wife that I play at home a lot, and a little amp I made and stuff. So I've gotten into the weeds on making instruments, and I've always felt like it's better to be a master of one thing than a jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
I don't particularly, I'm not saying I'm the master at something, but I do have a dedication to this. It's something that I've wanted since I was young.
Yeah.
And the handcraft is something that runs in my family.
Yeah.
And I could have been a gunsmith, but I chose something that was more
guitars, not guns.
Yeah, I respect it in a certain sense, but I definitely wanted to do something a little bit more peaceful, and something that brings joy to millions, when you see an instrument that you make in an artist's hand on stage. That's
do you have
rewarding.
some you mentioned like Nam and Billy Corgan, but do you have some clients or instruments that you've made that you remember seeing on stage or you're proud to have made?
Yeah. I mean, this latest Smashing Pumpkins tour, that Shiny Oh So Bright tour, I've been seeing some pictures of that, of some of the instruments I made for Jeff and for Billy, and Jack Bates, the bass player, made like 8 basses for him, and now James Eha, we did a few things for. We're working on stuff for him now. That's been really cool. Rod and Gab, Rodrigo and Gabriella, doing stuff for them. That was really fun. I made a guitar for Slim Gamble, and he played on the CMA Awards. That was cool. And I made Shakira this gold guitar that looks like it was gold plated, like the whole damn thing. That was crazy. That was so hard, that project. But I saw her post a picture of it on Instagram. Got like almost 1 million likes.
Hell
I was
yeah.
like, holy crap.
Nice, man.
That's the wildest thing, I think.
I'll have to find that picture.
Yeah.
Link to it.
Yeah, that is that was one of the toughest things, because it's a set neck. If you see those old like Ibanez Chrome Boys and stuff, it's a bolt-on body, but only the body is chrome plated. The neck is just wood. It's like normal. But man, doing this whole thing, it was just like you have 16 seconds, I think, to like get it all to flash. It's a chemical reaction. It's
wow.
Really crazy. It took many tries, but we got there.
Wow. So you mentioned the wireless thing that you're kind of working on currently. What else is like coming up, or what's on the horizon for you guys?
So I'm not directly working on the wireless project. The company is, the folks at Yamaha Guitar Group. But as far as guitar projects, we are working on a few things. We're working on a new model electric guitar that's been in development for a little over, a year or something like that. We've been, we do evaluations, so I'll make like 4 guitars. We'll invite like 50 people in to come and play them and give us, their analysis. And then we'll take that information and try and distill it, make some revisions, and then do it again. And we've done it a few times already. So we think we're there with the shape. And we're also thinking about including some cool technology in those instruments. So we have a lot of things in development in that area. We also have been developing new acoustic models, this really slick new bass. A lot of it is still in development, so I can't give too much away.
Sure, yeah.
But the bass project is insane. That is something that will eventually go to guitar as well, but the mechanics of it are, it's hardest to build this type of instrument as a bass because of the longer waveform. It's harder for us to transform the sound of this instrument into what we're trying to get it to be. So we're doing the hardest thing first. We're going to do a 5-string bass version, and then it'll be easier for us to port over to guitar. But it's pretty cool, and I'm excited about it. We've been working with this guy, Lee Young, who's got this really interesting technology, and it's amazing. So I'm looking forward to that, and that was part of, I recently took a trip to Japan to try and work out some of this stuff with the engineers there, and went to our factory in Indonesia. We have a few different factories, one in Indonesia, one in Japan, one in China, and we're working on a new factory in India, which is pretty cool. So I go there and try and see if we can actually make this happen. What kind of tools do we need? We'll make tools here in Calabasas and like give them to the workers and train them and stuff, and it's cool. It's nice because you could tell at all our factories too, everybody likes making guitars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different environment than, you might anticipate. So
Sure.
it's cool.
Cool. Well, Pat, I really appreciate being on the show.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for showing me around,
Thanks for having me.
and good luck in the future, man.
Thanks. You too.
Osiris.